Kenny, good morning and welcome to Auto Smarts for You.
Well, good morning. I'm happy to be on the show. Of course, that's stomping grounds of my sponsor, Jegs, High Performance Auto Parts.
All right, Ken. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. It's an honor to have you. I want to start out by thanking you on behalf of the Heavy Hills family. Zero wanted me to shout out to you and say how much it meant to them right before we lost one of our local legends on all the good things you did for him on the air.
Well, Heavy and me go back a long way. I mean, way before I was even a race car driver. Of course, I was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri. When I was a kid, I would put those models together of that number 7 Jegs car that Don Gregory used to drive, and of course, Gary St. Amont's father and Heavy and all those, that whole bunch there. They were some of the best crew members throughout the whole United States, and we were all jealous of how good they were. And of course, we all grew older together, and darn it, it sure was a sad year when we lost Heavy. And but I'm glad that his son and everybody can carry on the tradition. And it sure was a sad time. But like you say, man, his boy's doing a good job, and we think of him every day.
And we're talking with Kenny Wallace. You know his voice and his great physique that you see on Speed Channel with NASCAR this morning and NASCAR Victory Lane.
All the time.
Say that again?
I said I'm dancing all the time.
You're always in motion. You and Jimmy Spencer are always dancing up there, always doing something up there on the set. Well, you know what? Race number 3 in the Race for the Chase is later on today in Kansas. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, that's where I'm at right now. I'm in Kansas, and obviously we do our NASCAR race day show on Speed TV, and that's why I stay over on Sundays. I just raced my nationwide car yesterday, the U.S. Border Patrol Chevrolet. And but you want to talk about the race number 3 for the Chase? Well, I got to tell you, this is great about this sport. The nation has been stunned in auto racing because we just did not see Kyle Busch having 2 part failures back to back. As much pressure as we put on ourselves as drivers to perform well, it just shows how much of a team sport this is. So, it doesn't look like Kyle's going to win the championship. I know he's going to win some races, but he's at a 200-point deficit. So that's a huge surprise. And a big surprise is Greg Biffle's domination station. We knew he was always a top 5 competitor, top 10, but man, it's like he's turned the wick up. I don't think there's any voodoo to it. I don't think they're really doing anything. How does a driver and how does a team get better? Well, Roush Racing took Greg Biffle and Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth and David Reagan. They went to Milwaukee 8 times. I repeat, they went and tested 8 times at Milwaukee. So
wow.
I think that's what you're seeing right now with this program. Everybody's stepping up to the plate now with all this testing.
All right, hey, let me ask you something, Kenny, and this is a question I get a ton from the local drivers. I mean, there's a young gentleman named Tyler Knuckles. You know his father, Jeff, the people that own the Speedway. The kid can drive anything. We've recently put him in a modified, and he's just rocking the local tracks with that. And, you talk about some of these younger drivers, and we talk about Busch. He's young, and we know he had big shoes to fill with his older brother doing so well in NASCAR. But what kind of advice do I give a Tyler Knuckles that has all the talent in the world, and he comes to me and he's discouraged at how do I get him to the next level, or whose hat do I put his name in? Or, I mean, what's your advice to him? I know he's going to be listening.
Well, I've got a lot to say about that. First of all, let me give the quote to you that Dale Earnhardt, the late, great Dale Earnhardt, said. Dale Earnhardt told me, Kenny, he said there are thousands of great race car drivers throughout this United States. Some of them just might not make it because of luck. That's one statement. In other words, there are thousands of great race car drivers throughout the United States. Now, there's only 43 spots on these, truck races, these nationwide races, and these cup races. So there's only 43 drivers. Do you realize that's such a small percentage. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Now, here's where the story gets really good.
Okay.
I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I knew this little kid named Justin Allgaier. Justin's dad, his name is Mike Allgaier, and we call him Gator. Gator became famous for becoming the biggest Hoosier tire dealer in the United States. Gator's son, 26 years old this year, feeling the exact same way. Man, I've won everything. Nobody loves me. I'm going to eat some worms. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he gets a call from Roger Penske.
Awesome.
And if you go on NASCAR.com right now, the story is there about Justin Allgaier. So what you got to do is you got to prove that you want to make it to NASCAR. You cannot just constantly stay in your local racetrack because they want to see how much talent you have. So you've got to somehow figure out how to get that local money and people to support your career to run different venues.
Okay.
So what I say is, yes, it's okay that you dominate at your local level, but you gotta race throughout the United States and see what it's like to run different tracks. And if you start dominating, then these big car owners will know about you. But you have to find the money. It is all about money, you got to have the people to be willing to give you some money.
I appreciate the advice.
We are talking with the Herminator right now, the probably the most handsome of the Wallace brothers, I understand, between you and Rusty and Mike. Kenny, is that the truth? You are the most handsome?
Yes, I am the best-looking one. All the ladies come up to me, they go, man, you're a lot better looking in real than you were on that TV. And I'm like, wow, thank you, baby.
Hey, I want to thank you, too. I got two other questions, but I want to thank you, too. I recently did some local racing analysis, and I was a nervous wreck. So me and my wife are big fans of yours, and we sat there and I watched every time you were on TV because I got a kick out of you, and I tried to model myself after you. It wasn't as good, nowhere near as good as you were on TV, but boy, I appreciate it.
That's funny.
Your laugh kills me. I love it. But we always ask all our special guests two questions. Number one, what's your favorite all-time? I know your favorite movie, but what's your all-time favorite race car type movie, and what is your favorite classic car?
Well, probably my favorite movie in racing is one that didn't depict a series and get it wrong. In other words, there's so many racing movies that they tried to make right, but it embarrassed us. So I would say Six Pack is my favorite racing movie because it didn't try to be real.
Right.
It was like, hey, these kids are putting this race car together, and how true it could be.
Yeah.
And what was the other question?
Classic car. Let's narrow it down. 1955 to 1972, because in my book,
yes, 1963 short bed Chevrolet pickup.
Cool.
My favorite vehicle, and I have one.
A big block Chevy in her?
No, I got a fuel injected Corvette motor because it's easier. It starts up when it's time to go, and that's really the reason. It's a favorite for car builders.
All right, Kenny, quickly, your pick for the race this afternoon in Kansas. Who do you think is going to win it?
Well, look, there's a lot of drivers that can win this race. We all know that. But I got to say my favorite right now is got to be all the Roush cars, whether it's, Greg Biffle again or Carl Edwards. And then there's some great, look, they're all really good. But, I just really think that these drivers that have been dominating right now, they're stepping up to the plate. And that, I think that they can win.
You are a legend. I always have to say Speed Channel because if I say Kenny Wallace on Speed, it doesn't sound right because you are always a hyper guy. And, man, you are fun to listen to and watch. And as Boots mentioned, you are an event anytime you're on TV. Kenny, good luck racing, and thanks for your time here on Auto Smarts for You.
Thanks, Kenny.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the show, and watch that race today.